Evening all, evening all. Hope you're doing well. I presume you've seen the news of Boris Johnson announcing that there's an increased probability of a no-deal Brexit, or as he likes to call it, leaving on Australian-style terms, or when he screws up a bit, an Australian-style deal, because you can't say an Australian-style deal because, of course, through that terminology, he actually means no deal. So I think that he is positioning himself as such for a couple of reasons. Firstly, because the EU themselves have gone there first, so he feels the need to react. The EU have announced that they're ramping up their no-deal preparations, and they look well organised about it and confident about it. So he feels the need to do the same. Also, I mean, if you are eventually going to get a deal in any way, shape, or form, he needs to show maximum brinkmanship. And also, if there's any deal that's going to arrive, then, you know, it has to come with a huge sigh of relief because it's going to be a crap fin deal anyway. So how serious is the likelihood of a no-deal Brexit here? Yeah, pretty likely, pretty serious. It's quite clear that there is a philosophical clash that cannot be resolved. The EU are basically saying, if you want to play football with us, you have to obey by the same rules. If the referee blows a whistle, you have to stop. If you're offside, you can't be. If it's red card, you're sent off. And the UK wants to play in that environment, but not according to the same rules. And the key thing that the EU has spotted now is, what about if they want to improve their workers' rights, for example, and then the UK doesn't come along with it? Then essentially they can't move forward because of the fear of the UK undercutting them. So it's that dynamic alignment which is the real sticking point. But I still think at this stage there are three options in play. One is the no deal exit. One is an actual, you know, thin, skinny bones deal that covers most of things. And then one other one, so the third one, is actually an extension. And I've heard some whispers that the UK actually want a little extension deal because they don't want to have a no deal exit or a thin deal exit over the winter when both of those could block up the borders when the country is not prepared. That would look chaotic. They don't quite want their denouement yet, so it would buy them more time for people to take things seriously, get prepped, they themselves get prepped, and so forth and so on. But let's talk about the terminology here of this Australian style arrangement, because that's the most comic thing. I mean, it is lying and misleading to the bitter end. It is a no deal. It means no deal has been agreed about our trading arrangement. But why isn't Boris Johnson saying no deal? One, because he knows that no deal is now unpopular in the polling. Two, because he knows he's painted himself into a box on this already by saying that the chances of a no-deal Brexit would be 1,000,000 to 1, and by saying that a no-deal Brexit would be a failure of statecraft. If he then actually goes and says that it's going to be no deal, that marries up really quickly. So he's trying to say that, you know, there's lots of different deals, you know, we could have, you know, if we're not membership, then we could have a Canada style deal or an Australia style deal. They're both nice, sort of like Anglophone countries, and, you know, they've got arrangements with the EU, will be absolutely fine. But it's ridiculous. It's patently ridiculous that a European country should not have a European deal. We should be looking across the Atlantic to a distant friend, or right round the other side of the world, as far away as you can get from Europe, for that style of deal making. And even then, it's not a true Australia style arrangement, because of course you don't need to have a full fat FTA in order to have bilateral agreements that relate to trade, and Australia has you know, a set of those with regard to the EU to get Australian wine in, or what have you. And also Australia is in mid-negotiation with the EU, started in 2018, about a full FTA. And furthermore, Australia doesn't have any outstanding legal issues with the EU, like the UK does, because it still hasn't axed its internal market bill and all the dangerous provisions in it. It's just said it will do that, but will it really? Until it's gone, you don't trust it fully. So it is, you know, it's almost comically sad because I don't think people are buying it anymore from what I can tell in the commentary. I think everyone absolutely sees through it at this stage. And the BBC themselves did a sort of reality check on what's an Australia style deal, where they call all of this out, which is nice to see from the BBC finally to actually do a fact-based breakdown of one of these issues rather than just repeating what the government said. But it's a bit late in the day for the BBC to actually pick up their duty of public education. But nevertheless, I mean, here we are now. I mean, whatever happens next, there are many others like me that I've talked to, feel some degree of relief that the denouement, shall we say, is upon us. You know, for years and years and years, Brexit's been sold as all this fantasy. We've burnt up 200 billion on the route to it, and we always promised the sunny uplands, but very soon we're going to be in the circumstance where we see what deal or lack of deal we have. The only route out of this is actually the delay, the sort of the transitionary deal, which is why I think that's going to be extremely attractive to Boris Johnson, because he doesn't want the full denouement of Brexit, either through his no deal Australian style arrangement or through a thin deal, which also looks bad and also causes disruption. So I think that's going to be attractive to them in winter. But, you know, we wait and see, and whatever happens, you know, we'll be campaigning hard across, you know, Scientists for EU and March for Change. I mean, over the next years, that Rejoin campaign. I mean, Rejoin is you know, a sort of like distant endpoint, shall we say? It's rebuilding with Europe, based on all these fundamental principles that people now tangibly see and can understand better than in 2016, and it's just the importance of what it is to work together and have that team spirit. The EU hasn't fallen apart through to the pressures of Brexit. That domino effect didn't happen. Donald Trump came in and then he's got booted out. And so this is all very, very sobering. And my hope is that we build the case to build back with Europe, but this time really deep in British culture, a fundamental understanding of why. And talking about vaccines, I hope that Brexit is the best vaccine ever against populists in Europe that wanted to leave the EU. Remember that was what the theorizing was back in 2016, that they'd all leave because Brexit would be so inspirational. I think our case has actually been quite the inoculation against that line of thinking, because none of them are saying it anymore. But anyway, do support us. I'm going to end all my videos with this now. Do support us through the Patreon link. So instead of me going to big funders and asking for money, or me asking for, you know, crowdfunder surges one by one, if we can get that steady monthly support, then that just means that that's completely off our mind and we can focus on doing the videos and the content across our channels, and that's really dead useful. So there's dozens of people that have signed up to the Patreon now. If we can upscale that and make that hundreds, then that is sorted and we can just focus on that task. And this, incidentally, I think this is a really interesting shift in how we do campaigning and how we do new media. Because if you look at Novara Media, for example, they're doing the same thing, you know, on the left of the Labour Party, but also Byline TV have a Patreon and they're building up support by that. Remain, a podcast that you may know, like The Bunker, same thing, Patreon, and Double Down News. There's just a whole set of new media in the progressive space, shall we say, that is empowering itself by getting that crowd-funded regular monthly support, so that through social media and the community we build in social media, being able to deliver more videos, more articles, more content, more interviews and things like that, and building it up that way. And I think that's a really important development. I see it on our side more strongly than I see it on the right, which is a nice change from years back. So please, with Scientists for EU, do support that Patreon. Also support others in the same space. And I think that's a very solid foundation for how we get to build back now. So please do that. And you're going to get bored of me asking that, but that's what's going to come at the end of every video where I remember to do that. Anyway, hope all's well with all of you. And if you comment in questions, yeah, stick them in there. And I will now switch this video off and go and look through those comments and, you know, type some replies. So yeah, catch you on the typey world thing.